Hi guys, it's White Dove and I wanted to show you today how we can improve on your chart of accounts or add to your chart of accounts as it exists. Whenever you have a QuickBooks Online file, every single business's chart of accounts is going to differ to some degree because it is a kind of a more personal snapshot of your business than it is just a standard chart of accounts. So inside of the resource section, you're going to see that there's additional swipe files for added pieces to your chart of accounts where we drill it down just a little further. So if there's a section that you want to add in its entirety, mostly in expenses, but instead of just adding them one at a time, we can go ahead and upload these in bulk. The thing about this is it's not the added chart of accounts is simply that it's added. It's not replacing. Anytime you do a chart of accounts, it is in addition to what is already created. So it doesn't override and it doesn't write out anything that you currently have in there. And that's because there are items in your chart of accounts that already have balances in them. And because of the accounting equation, we cannot move those just to move those. So anyways, I wanted to make sure that you understood that first. There is not a way to override the ones you have. This is going to add what does not exist. And I'm going to walk you through what it takes to add a piece of or a full updated chart of accounts in addition to the ones you currently have, because maybe you want to start using items in a different area. Inside the swipe files, you'll notice that there are bits and pieces, and then there are full chart of accounts inside the free area, the free resource outside of the private portal. If you want to add to your chart of accounts at any point in time, we can certainly do so. We can walk through that, but usually all you need is to put in the information that is missing or drill down information, because the chart of accounts in general is going to have some very basic expense areas. So I'm using this as an example of where I want to show you. So you go to accounting and you can see this is a very basic chart of accounts. I created it this way because I don't want a whole lot in here at all. I wanted to add the information that I want it to have. So go over to the top right, go to import, and we're going to browse for the file. And you'll notice in here, this is all a part of that whole swipe file. All of these items are there for specific industries. Now, if you have an existing QuickBooks Online but had a very basic chart of accounts, this can add in addition to what you have, and we can always delete items we don't want to use, but it at least brings them in as bulk. If you didn't fall into a specific industry standard, then you were probably given just a general service or general product-based business chart of accounts. And that's exactly the point. It is general. So I'm going to go ahead and add this because I don't really have any items in there at all. Hit next, and this is going to map the fields. We want to, by and large, leave it where it's at. And this is right before we import. We go into this section of it, and we can check where these items are going to go before they go there. This is not something that you're going to need to mess around with for the most part unless we're doing this together. But what we can do is uncheck or edit any of these items before they go over if we didn't want it to say other miscellaneous. Again, I'm going to tell you at this point, just leave these alone because there's not any reason to change those. These descriptions, these detail types over here, don't really make that much difference. The type is the backside of the accounting equation, which is helpful, but that's why it's set as it is. It's not meant for you to change. You can change the account names if you want to. If there's something that you want to say specific, like you want to say sales income instead of just sales, you can add that right there. If you want to say markup, or oh, you know what, we don't want a markup, so let's undo that one. Services income. I always like to put income at the back end of it, even though this says what it is. I always like to have it here because at least there's no dispute as to what it is going to be. But you can drill down and find more inside of here. But again, we're going to remove Ask My Accountant because that is not a category that we need to be using. And all right, so it looks good. This is where I like it and I want it to be. So I'm going to go over here to import. And we just wait for it to do its business on the back end. All right, So it says the following one accounts could not be imported because they are duplicates. Perfect. This is a great example of what it'll do for us. So again, because we have the chart of accounts and it's not overriding the chart of accounts, it's saying, guess what? This already exists in there. This is not something that you need to add. So let's go ahead and uncheck this one. All right, let's call it let's see if it'll allow us to take it here. There we go. So now, as you can see, all of these items were brought in. We had that chart of accounts that didn't have anything on it. Now it has items that have populated properly for us to be able to function at a much deeper level inside of our business. It did not overwrite the items we currently had, but it did go ahead and add these extra items. There are inside the files for you inside the membership, there are items that will drill down travel expense because we should have them split out a little bit more because there's airfare, there's lodging, there's travel meals, there's so many different ways that travel can be. And so instead of, as an example, if you wanted to know how much you spent in travel in general, this will capture that report properly and it'll tell you the overall amount. But if you wanted to know specifically how much you spent on just airfare, you would have to go through the entire report and pull those numbers and calculate them yourself, except for if we run a subcategory for those, and all you would have to do is just import the items like we just ran through, then you wouldn't have to run the separate calculation yourself because it will be subcategorized under. You would still have the overall amount for travel expense, but then you could open up the report underneath it as a subcategorization for airfare or for lodging. So that is just one instance. Meals and entertainment is another one where I separate out meals, I separate out entertainment, I separate out specific reasons for the meals and entertainment items. So that you have a little bit more detail. We might as well have this information created now in order for it to be more advantage for us later on down the road when we do want that actual information. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And if you want to take an opportunity during a virtual office hours to upload additional items to your chart of accounts, reach out to me and we'll schedule to make sure we get that done in the next available virtual office hours. I'll talk to you soon.